So you know that whole concept of the remix, right?
Like in music,
Yeah.
taking an old track and spinning it.
Yeah, exactly. You take some dusty old record and you strip out the vocals, maybe speed up the tempo a bit, throw a heavy bass line under it,
Right.
and suddenly it's a completely different song. It's familiar, but it hits completely differently.
It recontextualizes the original. You end up hearing things in the melody that you just maybe didn't notice when it was a slow ballad.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting for our deep dive today. Imagine applying that exact same remix logic, but to national history.
Oh, that's a great way to frame it.
Right. Imagine taking the absolute greatest hits of a country's identity, the classic oil paintings in the National Gallery, the iconic photos you see on postcards, and just, well, stripping them for parts,
Cutting them up.
cutting them up, pasting new people in, and suddenly the entire story changes.
And that is exactly what we are looking at today. We are exploring the world of Anne Zahalka.
One of Australia's absolute most renowned artists.
She is. And honestly, I almost hesitate to call her just a photographer. She's more of a visual editor of history.
Like a hacker, she hacks the image.
That is a very fair description.
Yeah.
She has spent 40 years taking these images we all trust, the brave pioneer taming the land, the bronze surfer owning the beach, and she interrogates them.
She asks why this is the official story in the first place.
Exactly. She wants to know who got cropped out of the frame.
And the reason we are diving into this right now is because her major survey, it's called Zahalka World, is currently on tour.
Yes, it's a massive retrospective.
It was put together by the Museum of Australian Photography, and if you are anywhere near the Tweed Regional Gallery between February 21st and May 17th, you absolutely need to go see this.
You really do. It covers everything from her early collage work back in the 80s right up to her genuinely terrifying images of the climate crisis.
It's a huge scope. So the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how she does it, how she uses humor, and she's so Fing, by the way, to dismantle these really heavy, serious national myths.
Humor is her Trojan horse.
It really is. And to really get it, I think we have to start with the greatest hit she decided to cover first. We have to talk about the pioneer.
Oh, absolutely. You cannot understand Zahalka without understanding Frederick McCubbin's The Pioneer.
Painted in 1904.
Right. For anyone who didn't grow up with this specific image plastered on their classroom wall, it is the ultimate Australian creation myth in oil paint.
It's a triptych, right? 3 huge separate panels.
Yes, it's almost like a secular altarpiece. It demands that kind of reverence.
And the story goes from left to right.
Right. So panel 1 is the wild bush. You have the settler and his wife, and they've just arrived. There's a wagon in the background, a fire, and the trees are just thick and suffocating.
The wife is sitting in the foreground.
Yes. And she looks despondent.
She looks miserable. She's deep in thought about the burden of taming this harsh land.
Exactly. Then you move to the middle panel. Time has passed. The trees are mostly cleared now. There's a cute little bush cottage in the background.
And she's holding a baby.
Yes, it's the happy ending of civilization. The struggle paid off.
But then the third panel. The right side shows the cost.
A man is crouching over a grave. The wife has died.
But in the background of that same panel, you see a glistening city.
Right. The message is incredibly clear. We suffered in the dirt so you could live in the city. It is the definitive Anglo-Celtic narrative of struggle and triumph.
Painted right after Federation, too.
Yes, telling Australians, hey, this is who you are.
Enter Anne Zahalka. The year is 1983. She looks at this sacred object and basically says, yeah, I don't think so.
She creates the immigrants, #2.
Which is from her series, The Landscape Represented. And she doesn't just paint a new version.
No, she physically collages over the top of a reproduction of the McCubbin.
The visual shift is just jarring in the best possible way.
She takes photos of her own family, her mother, her father, her grandmother. They were refugees from Czechoslovakia after World War II, and she pastes them directly onto the bodies of the pioneers.
And the detail that always gets me is in the middle panel. You know that cute little pioneer cottage in the original?
The symbol of domestic triumph.
Right. Zahalka pastes a corrugated iron building right over it. And there's a sign on the building that just reads, Smash Repairs.
It's so good. It's such a specifically modern suburban detail, Smash Repairs. It just completely punctures the romance of the original.
It really does. It takes this heroic man against nature narrative and turns it into man against a dented fender.
But there's a much deeper point there, too.
About the nature of the labor.
Exactly. McCubbin's pioneer was clearing the land. It's agricultural labor. But Zahalka's family, like a lot of post-war immigrants, They weren't out clearing forests.
They were in the cities.
They were working in factories and small businesses and trades. They were doing the literal smash repairs of a nation trying to rebuild itself after a global war.
She's changing the definition of what pioneer labor actually looks like.
And if you look at the figures themselves, take the woman in the first panel. In the original thing, she's deep in thought looking at the ground. Very dramatic.
But in Zahalka's version, the woman, I think it's her mother, is wearing this sleeveless patterned top.
She looks modern.
She looks bored, honestly, like she's just waiting for a bus.
It completely removes the melodrama. These aren't mythical heroes anymore. They are just real people.
And then there's the grave in the third panel.
Right. In the McCubbin, it's anonymous. The unknown pioneer.
But Zahalka pastes a very specific European-style headstone over it, and the text on the grave says Rodina Zahalkova.
The Zahalka family.
Yeah, Rodina meaning family.
She is literally writing her non-Anglo name into the actual soil of the Australian legend.
Asserting that her family struggle fleeing Europe, learning a completely new language, setting up a new life that is just as pioneer as the guy chopping down gum trees.
It's a powerful claim to ownership. She challenges the idea that real Australian history just magically stopped in 1904.
She brings the timeline forward, so she essentially conquers the bush.
Hey.
But then she moves to the other side of the coin, because if the bush is one half of the myth...
The beach is the other.
Exactly. In the 80s, she moves to Bondi.
The absolute holy grail of Australian beach culture.
And she runs headfirst into another massive myth, the bronzed Aussie.
Oh, yes. Max Dupin's Sunbaker.
Everyone knows this image, that black and white photo of the guy lying flat on the sand, shoulders massive.
He looks like a piece of carved mahogany.
He looked indestructible.
He looks like a landscape himself. It's a very tough, silent, and physically perfect ideal.
Very masculine.
Very masculine and very exclusionary. If you don't look like a Greek god carved out of bronze, you really don't fit the picture.
So Zahalka does her remix. She creates a piece called the Sunbather #2.
From 1989.
Right. She recreates the exact pose of Dupin's Sunbather. Same low angle, same beach setting. But the subject...
Just visual opposite.
It's a redhead. And I don't just mean kind of pale, I mean translucent.
Very fair complexion.
This person is glowing white against the sand. You look at this photo and you physically wince. You just know if they stay there for 5 more minutes, they're going to look like a boiled crab.
It evokes a real visceral reaction. But that is the brilliance of the piece.
She's showing the vulnerability.
Yes, the vulnerability of the flesh. The bronze Aussie is basically a suit of armor. But Zahalka's Sunbather is real skin. It burns, it peels, it gets freckles.
It's funny, but it's also really validating for the viewer. I mean, most of us are not bronze statues.
We are soft, squishy things that get sunburned.
Exactly. She's saying, hey, this is an Australian body too.
And she actually takes it a step further with another piece looking at the intellect of the beach.
Because we usually think of the beach as a purely physical place, right? Surfing, swimming, showing off.
It's about the body. But look at her work, the Sunbather #1.
Also 1989.
Yes. You have a woman in a black bikini lying on a towel. You can't see her face at all. She has completely blocked out the sun and the beach with a book.
And she's not just reading a beach thriller, she's reading Marcel Proust.
Remembrance of Things Past.
It's the ultimate introvert flex.
It really is.
Yeah.
She is surrounded by the loudest, brightest, most extroverted culture on earth, Bondi Beach in the 1980s. And she is deep inside a dense French philosophical novel.
It totally flips the script on who the beach is actually for.
It's not just for the surfers.
It's for the introverts, too. It creates space for a different kind of person who maybe prefers the life of the mind over the surf club.
And that is really her signature move across her career. She finds a rigid stereotype, and she stretches it until it snaps.
Making room for everyone else to pile in.
Precisely. Her work, The Batters, from that same year, does this beautifully, too.
That's the homage to Charles Muir, right?
Yes. His painting Australian beach pattern. The original is very stiff, very idealized. Zahalka restages it, but populates it with post-war migrant families. Grandmothers, kids, totally diverse bodies.
Asserting their right to those essential pleasures of sun and surf.
It's chaotic and messy and real.
Which brings us to a really interesting pivot in her career. She spends the 80s deconstructing these cultural myths about who belongs, but as she moves forward, she starts to obsess over something else.
The fakeness of the images themselves.
The artifice. She starts pulling back the curtain to show us the wires.
There's a great example of this called The Cleaner from 1987.
At first glance, you would absolutely swear it's a Vermeer or some Dutch master painting.
The lighting is that soft golden glow. The woman is sweeping the floor, looking very classic.
It triggers that art history recognition in your brain instantly.
You think, ah, yes, tradition.
But then you look closer. You zoom in. The sitter is wearing headphones.
She has a Walkman clipped to her apron.
And that little plastic Walkman just destroys the time travel.
It collapses the distance between the 17th century and the 20th century.
It updates the composition.
And it reminds us that this is a performance. We perform these roles of classic beauty. It's all a setup.
And that idea that the image is always a constructed setup gets a lot darker when she turns her lens on the environment.
Her wildlife series.
Right. And this is where I think the remix analogy we started with shifts from being playful to being really haunting.
I agree completely. In Wildlife, she explores how we consume the natural world, and she does it by photographing natural history dioramas.
Those museum displays with the taxidermy animals standing in front of a painted backdrop.
Which are inherently a bit unsettling anyway.
They are dead things pretending to be alive for our entertainment.
Yes. So Zahalka takes these fake environments and she edits them again.
Let's talk about the specific image exotic birds from 2017, because if you just scroll past this quickly, you might think it's just a pretty travel photo.
You see a lush forest setting, a mountain in the distance that looks a lot like Mount Fuji.
And there is a woman in a sun hat taking a picture of it.
But then you look at the ground.
It is covered in trash.
Not just generic brush either. Bright popping red soda cans, plastic wrappers. It is the literal debris of modern tourism scattered across this supposedly pristine forest floor.
And then you look up at the painted sky, and there's a plane leaving a contrail cutting right across it.
It's a subtle but devastating critique. She is showing us that wildlife doesn't really exist anymore. We have colonized and polluted every square inch of it.
We go to these places to take the perfect, pristine shot of the mountain.
But we crop out the parking lot and the rubbish bin.
And Zahalka just forces the rubbish bin back into the frame.
It addresses deep ethical and environmental concerns. It's the difference between the photo we want to take and the reality we actually live in.
We want the beautiful backdrop, but we don't want the responsibility.
And that responsibility leads directly into her more recent work. Because if The Pioneer was about our past and Bondi was about our present, her new work is squarely facing a very terrifying future.
We're talking about the climate emergency. There is a work in the current exhibition titled, "You Are on Bondi Bijigal Land."
From 2020.
Yes, and even just the title signals a major shift.
Yeah.
It is a land acknowledgement right in the name of the piece.
It grounds the viewer immediately in the indigenous history of the site. This isn't just the beach anymore.
But the visual itself captures a very specific moment in recent history, the Black Summer bushfires.
Anyone who was in Australia during late 2019 and early 2020 remembers exactly what the sky looked like.
It wasn't blue. It was this apocalyptic, choking orange haze.
It was suffocating. And Zahalka captures that exact color perfectly. In the image, you see a person standing on the cliff edge at Bondi. But the ocean and the sky are just consumed by this smoke.
It looks like a different planet, but there's also something happening on the rock surface they are standing on.
Superimposed on the rock are these strange markings. Indigenous engravings.
Whales and sharks and figures.
They look almost like ghost markings rising up from the stone itself.
It feels like this massive collision of timelines. You have the ancient history of the Bijigal people carved into the earth, and then you have the immediate urgent disaster of the climate fires choking the sky above it.
Curator Anuska Fazakli made a really brilliant point about this evolution in Zahalka's work. She noted that Zahalka have moved from interrogating the social landscape to interrogating pressing issues like the physical landscape and the climate emergency.
That is a powerful distinction. In the 80s, she was asking who belongs in this picture. Now she is asking if there will even be a picture left to take.
The stakes have entirely changed. The remix isn't just about cultural identity anymore. It is about survival.
She's showing us that we can't just Photoshop our way out of this reality. The smoke is in the frame whether we like it or not.
It's heavy, but it is so necessary. And I think that is exactly why her work has stayed so relevant over 40 years.
She doesn't just keep playing the same old hits.
No. She keeps updating the software. She moved from analog darkroom tricks and literally cutting photos with scissors to high-end digital manipulation.
But the core mission is always the same.
She is always looking to dismantle the history we were taught. Whether it's the pioneer legend, the beach culture, or the pristine wilderness, she shows us it is all a construction.
So when you walk through Zahalka world, what is the big takeaway? We've seen the smash repair as pioneer, The pale sunbather reading Proust, the trash in the diorama. What does she actually want us to learn from all this?
I think she wants to teach us media literacy, especially in an age of Instagram and AI-generated images. She wants us to stop being passive consumers.
She wants us to pause.
Exactly. When we see a classic photo of our country or slick advertisement, she wants us to ask, who made this image? What are they leaving out? Or what are they pasting in?
It's about realizing that history is a collage. And if it's a collage, that means we can cut it up and paste it together differently.
We aren't stuck with the traditional version of history. We can make a more inclusive version. We can add the migrants, the introverts, the indigenous history back into the frame.
So here's a provocative final thought for you to take away today. The next time you see a defining classic image of your culture, ask yourself this. If you had a pair of scissors and some glue, who would you paste into the frame to make it tell the whole truth?
Who is standing just outside the frame waiting to be seen?
Because once you start looking for the missing pieces, you really can't unsee them. It changes how you look at the world.
It really does.
If you can, get yourself to the Tweed Regional Gallery before May 17th to see Zahalka World. Seeing these pieces in person is incredible. Thanks for diving in with us today. Keep those mental scissors sharp, and we will see you next time.